Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I'm really happy to see all of you. I just got this shirt like a couple of days ago. Thank you. I like it too. It's very me. And I love the astronaut there, that little touch. That made me happy. So we have about 100 people in the room. We're going to give it 2 more minutes and then we'll begin. I want to take a moment to thank you for your donations the last few days. It really does help. Thank you for supporting my messages. I want to give a shout out to my friend Liara, who's here right now with us. It's very rare that I meet people who are on the same wavelength as me, tuned into the same radio station. And the thing about people like that is you don't really need to get to know each other. It's just there. There's a mutual connection that is inexplicable, that is familiar, that is unquestionable and unmistakable. So thank you, Liara, for being here with us today. Yeah. And wow, this room is filling up. So I decided to call this video How to Become a Reality Bender. And I think it sounds really cool. You guys know I love all that. I'm very much like a gamer in life. I look at my life like a game. And that's what we're going to be broaching today. We're going to be discussing how this life, the nature of this reality, is best approached when you view it as a game. Even though from another perspective, life is very real. Today, I'm going to be sharing from the perspective that it is a holographic reality. It is a simulation of sorts. And the best way that you can beat the game and then get to your joy and get to that highest vibratory rate of success and of abundance and all of these things is by beating the game. Once you beat the game, then you're able to enjoy life and bend your own reality. You're able to warp time. You're able to slow down time, to speed up time. You're able to enjoy every minute. You're able to stretch 1 minute into 5 minutes if you want. And so it's not so much a matter of beating the game from a dualistic standpoint of I'm better than you or this is a competition. It's a competition with yourself. It's a matter of you outsmarting your own self and eventually realigning to your highest reality, which is that you are that higher self being who can now bend his own or her own reality. And nothing is getting in the way of that anymore because you've transcended all the layers that were keeping you encased in a third dimensional grid, in a third dimensional matrix. So this is a game that we're in from one perspective and for this entire video. And I like to approach my life like a gamer. So you can be someone who is in the game, who's completely oblivious to what's going on and to the fact that you're being played by someone who has a joystick or who has a remote controller or who has a Nintendo or an Xbox or whatever the case. So you can be someone who's in the game having no clue that you're being played by someone. And that someone who is playing you could or may not be aware of the fact that someone designed the game. So I see it like what's coming to me now is it's like 3 levels. Oh, thank you so much for that donation. Aaliyah, thank you so much. I appreciate you. So let me go back to square one. You can be a player in the game who has no clue that you're being played by the game, which at that point you would have no idea whatsoever that the game was also designed by someone that released it. Then you can move into another dimension where you're in the game, but you're aware of the fact that you're playing the game. Or maybe you're not playing the game, you're allowing your guides to give you directions, to give you guideposts and guidelines. So at that point, you would be in the game and always asking for help from the people playing the game. You can move up and become the player of the game, which at that point, God or source would still be the maker of the game. But you can also become the maker of the game. You can be all three. You can be the one who's in the game, who's aware that you're playing the game, and who is also aware that you made this entire game, that you built this construct. And that's how I like to look at my life. So when I used to ask my guides, what should I do? They're like, you choose. You're here. You came as the maker of your game and as the player of the game. So I've reached a place in my life now where I don't really ask my guides for much. I've become the guide. And it's interesting because earlier on this week, I had a conversation with the 9, and they told me that they didn't want me to mention them as much anymore because even though I'm going to continue to work with them and always bring through that perspective, what they were saying to me was that if I want to say, classify myself as a channeler, then for the rest of my life, I'll probably be pigeonholed into the galactic community strictly. And they were like, Phil, there's an even higher purpose for you. You're here to be a spiritual teacher who's supposed to reach masses. And if you always mention us, you're going to limit yourself, and you already know what you're doing. So you just need to step into that. And I've had moments, where I was like, full on, this is me. I am the alien in this human bodysuit, in this energy body system, in this UFO that we call the body. I am the alien in this body. And then, you go back and forth because you don't want to take it so far that people are completely off-put by you. But my truth is that I am that alien, and that I am the teacher, and that I am working with guides, and it's all of it. But they've been telling me that it's just time. Like you've been knowing what you're doing, so you just need to own it now. So I'm owning it. So in life, you get to decide what role you're going to play. Are you going to be that player in the game who's oblivious to what's going on within you, what's going on around you? And which at that point, that the person playing the game is going to be controlling you. They're going to be steering you all the time. And it won't be up to you as to whether or not you die or not, because that's going to be dependent on how they play the game. And unfortunately, you're going to be subjugated to how they play the game. Okay. Now, some people play the game, but they're not aware of the fact that they actually made this entire game. So from that perspective, we are like a Russian doll, and I am in a doll. Do I know that I'm that other doll? Yes, I do. And then there's another doll. Do I know that I'm that other doll? So what I would liken that to is like your singular self having a human experience, your higher self, and then your oversoul. And most of us do have access to the oversoul, but we don't know how to tap into it. We don't know how to become it. Because again, it's not enough to tap into it. It is based upon what you want to experience. But for me, no, I'm operating as an oversoul. So being aware of how everything affects everything else. Everything. All right? And you get to the point where you can see every single timeline as it's unfolding in the field of possibility, in the field of infinite possibility. We are part of a source field. It's a field of existence, and every single potential is brewing in that field. And every single potential that is brewing in that field is always subject to change based upon your perception, based upon your choices, based upon your beliefs, the beliefs that you're still hanging on to, the beliefs that you choose to suspend, or the beliefs that you choose to discard altogether. And in this reality, you have a choice to be just the human being guided by guides, and then those guides have an oversoul, or you can be all three. You can, and what's hitting me now is that's my idea of a Trinity. And I never think about the word Trinity, but that's my idea of it. So if I say something to you, or if I share something that's happened to me, I can actually see how that energy, because energy has wings, everything you say has wings, words have wings, how that energy is going to be used. Is it going to travel to the person in your family in Miami? Is it going to travel all the way to there? So once you have access to all these timelines, then you know how to proceed or how to move forward in your life without how can I say this? with full on control of how it's all happening, because you are the maker of the game. So if you haven't watched my video, How to Break Out of the Matrix, this is directly connected to that. So you may want to watch that video before, because I touched on a lot of important points in that video. And I have videos where I talk about dispelling energies or releasing trauma, but this video is like pretty much to bypass all of that, to kind of connect you into a different dimension of who you are, or that you're able to access from within, so that we can get rid of all these ideas of trauma and what you need to release and all these things that you're still talking about, which are very relevant. But I also like to approach my life like this as well. So I want you guys to have as many hacks as you can. I want to give you guys all the tools that you can utilize in your everyday life, whether that be that it's to feel an emotion, to integrate it, to release it, or to take this approach, which is that you're just in a game and let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's cut to the chase. Let me level with you guys and share with you a lot of my secrets. So imagine that the secret to your success, the secret or the key to unlocking your divine potential, the secret, and I know this sounds cliche because everyone has a secret to how you're going to be successful in life. Well, what I'm telling you now is this secret is going to change your life. Imagine that what's going to make you successful, what's going to make you bountiful and plentiful in terms of your blessings in your life, is going to be how unpredictable you are. So working with the factor of unpredictability. The majority of humans, I would say over 90% of humans, are highly predictable. So in this game that we're in this simulation, the majority of humans are very predictable. Very predictable. So an example I've used in that video, How to Break Out of the Matrix, is if there's an elevator and you keep hitting the button, I promise you, sweetheart, it's not going to get there faster. So that action of continually pressing the button and repeatedly pressing the button is you being a slave to those thoughts that once thought that if you press the button, it's going to come faster. So you're repeatedly pressing this button, and all you're doing in that moment is reinforcing that you're a slave to this paradigm or to these thought forms that came before you. It's not an original thought. And I want you to start thinking of all these thoughts as being different spirits. They're all different spirits. There are a collective of spirits, collective of beings. There are all these different collectives. All right, and the objective is to become sovereign. The objective is to not belong to any of these groups, because you are Source incarnate. You are an aspect of God in this human body. You don't belong to anything or anyone. No one is the boss of you. But the thing is, when you go to the restaurant and you pick up the menu and you're like, I wonder what I'm going to get tonight. 1 million people have said that same sentence. Trillions of people have said, I wonder what I'm going to get tonight. So in that moment, all you're doing is replicating something that's come before you. All you're doing is reaffirming that you're a slave to that thought that you just had. That does not make you exceptional. That makes you predictable. The people who were able to excel in life, the people who were able to climb to the top of the summit, the people, the masters who were able to part seas, the wizards who were able to bend fire, they didn't do this by luck. There was no luck involved. It was alchemy. It was sheer alchemy. It was the ability to vision into all these different thoughts, all these different timelines, and choose a higher thought, and a higher thought, and a higher thought, and a higher thought. Now, the highest thought isn't original either. It's a thought that's been here. It was there from the beginning of time. All right? So the highest thought isn't original either. The difference is most people can't find that thought. They can't locate it. You want to know why? Because this is how thoughts work. And I'll explain this to you. They're thoughts, they're thought forms, they're spirits. Thoughts are consciousness. And all consciousness wants to grow. I don't care if it's your dog. I don't care if it's your fish. I don't care if it's an idea that you've had. Every consciousness is on an equal playing field with you and is like, ooh, I want to grow. I want to expand. That's what God is. God is an energy that dispersed itself in order to grow through us, even though it had already grown to its full capacity. But it wanted to have an experience. It wanted to get to know itself. It wanted to have this experiment, or to conduct this experiment where if God could become incarnate, meaning that we are God in this body, but we only are seemingly separate because I look different than you and I might have a different mom than you. And so my DNA structure is distinguished by the set of rules or the set of beliefs or the set of perceptions that I chose to come in with. But we're still the same. We're cut from the same cloth. But we appear to be different because we have different DNA, and we are different in that respect. So for me, oneness isn't that we are the same. Oneness is that we were the same when we were God. So there's no point in going back and being God and being bored. We've already split off and fractalized into this experiment, so we are different now. And by being at one with myself, my aura starts to radiate more and more and more. All right, I start to emanate this very high frequency, and that high frequency is contagious, and it inspires you to become unified with yourself. So think of your higher self as the one who's playing the game. Think of my higher self as the one who's playing the game. But when people are playing a game, there's two different people playing against each other. You see what I'm saying? And then even when you go into the oversoul of who designed the game, who made the game in the first place, who created this entire universe, it took a collective consciousness to do that. So when you go into oversoul consciousness, you're working with a collective, a very high level consciousness, a very high form of intelligence. So the maker of the game was God. God wanted to become those two players, and then those two players would start to play games that have other players in it. It's all from God, but everyone is separate. Every player in that game has a different magical power. Everyone has different agility. Everyone has different speed. Everyone has different a different set of attributes. So we're all different. And I hate when people misconstrue it in the metaphysical community and they say that we are one, so we're not going to have individuality anymore. To me, that's not spirituality. Spirituality is I'm at one with myself. My discernment is on fleek now, right? My discernment is on point. And if something doesn't resonate with me, I'm not going to try to make it resonate. There's no sense, right? It's like you can't mix cinnamon with pepper, or maybe you can, but in a cake or whatever, that would be weird. So oil and vinegar, I think it's oil and vinegar, like they split, like they're not able to coalesce. That's what it is here. You're not supposed to become me. I'm not supposed to become you. We're separate, but we come from the same cloth. We are cut from the same cloth. But the thing is, how can you really know who you are unless you decide to individuate? Individuate meaning that you decide to separate yourself from all these beliefs and all these perceptions that other humans have, and you really start to click into your multidimensional technology. You can't. If you're always following the herd, you're always going to be a slave to that herd. You're always going to be a slave to those paradigms. You're always going to be a slave to those belief systems. So you have the elevator, and you keep repeating, pushing the button. That's not going to get you anywhere. In that moment, you're just a slave to a player who's playing your game, and you're not aware that you could be playing your own game. In the moment that you tell a parking enforcer, no, please don't give me a ticket. I swear I was just gone 2 minutes. You're extremely predictable. Everyone does that. Billions of people have done that. That does not make you different than the rest. It doesn't make you unique in any sense of the word, by any stretch. Okay? So you go to the restaurant, you're like, oh my God, I wonder what I'll eat. People have done that. Be different. Don't say anything. Just decide and set an intention while you're there, right? So again, nothing that you do is going to be original, but you can reach for those higher thoughts, which is what those moments grant you with. They grant you with an opportunity to choose something that you haven't chosen before. They grant you with an opportunity to choose the higher thought. Jesus, Buddha, Babaji, Magdalene, all of these beings that preceded us, including the Pleiadians and including the Arcturians, they've been here and they've done it. They were the exception. Now, going back to what I was saying earlier, these thoughts, they want to grow. Your dogs want to expand. You want to expand. You always want more. I always want more. It's part of being God trapped in a body. Okay? And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I will never be satisfied. My cosmic tooth, my sweet cosmic tooth will never be satisfied in this body. I will always reach for more. Because who I am and what I am is that I can move objects with my mind. What I am is that I can birth new realities and birth new galaxies. So I have access to those abilities in this body, but I may not be able to turn into a dragon in this body. And I will never be satiated until I become me again, until I make my return to God, to my God self. And it's been intricately designed this way so that you're never satisfied, so that you're always expanding and pushing and pushing and pushing. Think of a woman who's giving birth. She's pushing life out of her body. So we're constantly pushing more life out of our body through our desires, through our charisma, through what we want to experience. We're always pushing more life out of our body. And that enables our DNA to upgrade itself. It enables our DNA and our dormant strands to come online again, to reactivate. Is it possible to activate all of your strands within this human body? Yes. Like I said, I've tapped into certain abilities and I work with my wizardry every night. I can bend my reality. I can move magic. I can manipulate energy fields. But I'm still in this body. So from the overview, even if I become like a magician in this body, I'm a magician only in this body, with my blue eyes, with these lips, with my genetic material, with my unique DNA. So I may still not experience the magic in someone who's like 6'5" and someone who is, I don't know, is colored, someone who has black skin, someone who has a different lineage than me. I may not be able to experience their magic because it will be experienced through a different DNA structure. Does that make sense? Which is why you'll never be satisfied. You're always going to reach for more, and you're always going to want to stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch. But that's what's brilliant about this. We've designed this game in a very ingenious way. Very ingenious way. So your dogs want to grow, you want to grow, we want to grow. Thoughts want to grow. All right, so let's segue into this next point. Thoughts want to grow. What does this mean? All of the thoughts that you have throughout the day are, I would equate them to mass consciousness. Because if you have thoughts like, oh my God, this guy ghosted me, or he rejected me, I don't know if he'll ever call me again, billions of people have said that. Which means that these thoughts started taking on a life of their own. And they grew and they grew and they grew because we kept giving them food. We kept giving them life. So what happens then? So subsequent to that, they become like a cloud of consciousness. Think of it as like the average cloud. It's the cloud that everyone defaults to. It becomes the new default factory setting. So most people are only operating within this cloud or within these layers of consciousness. They're not thinking, oh my God, this thought isn't mine. It's just a thought that someone experienced when they were in a similar situation than me right now. And rather than taking the bait and rather than doing something that's highly predictable, I'm going to go this way and choose this instead. Or I'm not going to choose anything. I'm just going to observe all the thoughts and just do me. Maybe I'll talk, maybe I won't talk, but I'll be in control and I'll be aware of everything I'm doing. I'll be cognizant of everything I'm saying and everything I'm doing. Because everything that you say and do or are thinking of doing has been done before. Everything. It's not new. Oh my God, I just had a brilliant business idea. Go on Google. It's probably been patented already. Yeah? The difference in this reality is you could put your own spin on it, which is fun. You can make it Phil. You can make it very like Jesse or Jessica or Mila. I'm looking at your names on the chat. You can do you. But what's going to allow you to catapult into that highest timeline where your success lies is being different than the rest. I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie Divergent. I saw it like 10 years ago. Divergent. You have to be divergent. Question every single thought you have. Be different than the rest. That's how you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. That's how you're going to stand out from the crowd. That's how you're going to regain and reclaim your ability to part seas, to bend reality. Now, let me touch on that for a minute. Why is it that you're now able to bend reality? Because once you become the game maker, everything is in your game. So you can become the maker of the maker of the maker of the maker. What would that do? This is deep stuff. I'm loving this. What would that do? It would mean that every single human in this planet is quote unquote caught in your game. But you're not trying to trap them. The thing is, they just haven't awakened yet, right? Which is why when once you start to ascend, you can't blame the darkness anymore because you understood that it served a purpose. You get it? You can't blame it anymore. I was broke for I don't know how many years. And looking back, I kept myself there. Back then, I would have said there was a dark force after me trying to keep me broke. Was I false? No. That was accurate from the perspective in which I was vibrating. But it's not accurate anymore. You understand? It's not accurate anymore. I can look back and say, wow, I definitely prolonged that process. Had I just been compliant with my guides at the time who were whispering in my ear saying, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. And I was way too resistant. I didn't want to spend any money. I didn't want to go out. I was like, nope, I'm gonna cling on to everything I have and I'm not gonna share it with anybody. Right? And the entire time I had guides who were like me, who made this game, telling me, come on, dude, step it up. Like, don't be afraid, we've got you, because we are you. So what happens is when you become the maker of the game, you can also become the maker of the game and start moving into other universes and start creating other universes. Everything is now part of your game. Does that mean that you're violating people? No, you're not violating people. You're reconnecting to your abilities. You have a right to connect to those abilities. So let's say that I deposit a thought today in the collective. That is a thought that would stem from Sirius, or a thought that would stem from the original source creator God. And that is a thought that is quite foreign to humanity, right? To most humans. I'm talking about that 90%. Not the people, the starseeds, not the way showers, not the grid keepers, not the gate, the guardians, all of that. None of that. I'm talking about the people who are still under the dominion of these different imprints or these different thought forms. If I deposit a new thought today in my meditation, meaning a new technique, a new light code, okay? Other people may move or leave their house not understanding that they just left their house because I deposited a light code and they can't handle that energy and they need to go walk around. I know this is really profound, you guys, but You can't fault someone for being creative. You can't fault someone for being innovative. You can't fault someone for being inventive. If we deposit new light codes and new light codes and new light codes, other people become a part of your game. And when they move around, they're responding to a light code that you've deposited. That's just what it is. So let's imagine for a minute, like the first woman who was like, I'm done taking crap from men. I'm going to be my empowered self. That energy echoed into the field. It imbued itself into the grid. That grid is a network that connects all of us. Now, when the next woman was like, oh, I think I'm going to start empowering myself, she's picking up on that thought from that other woman who said, I'm now the most powerful woman in the world. So by default, the woman who's now empowering herself is also going to send her energy because that was her creation. She was like she was like you know how we have patents on this planet? She came up with that patent. She had a patent for that. So everyone who comes after, it will always feed that creation. But the key is to be aware of what you're feeding. So if I mention the 9, I'm aware that I'm giving energy to the 9. I'm aware. But if I'm aware that I am the 9, then it's still coming to me. You understand? There's no lack. It's all abundant. It's all abundant. So my message for you today is that, oh yeah, and thank you for the donation. I don't know what that is, Divya. 1,000, I'm not sure what that is, but it looks really nice. It's a nice 1,000. So whatever it is, it's like, woo. Okay. So that was my message for you guys today. That as long as you are functioning under different thought forms, you're going to be serving them. Your energy is going to them. They are you, but if you don't know that, your energy is going to get depleted. I'll repeat that. They are you, but if you don't know that, or if you never connect to that and you don't wake up and you stop being stubborn and you stop being resistant, your energy will continually get depleted. Now, if you're aware of the fact that your energy is going to them, then it's actually going to you. And then you guys might have rounds like, ooh, swap in, I need to take a break. Now you swap in, I need to take a break. And you guys become like the WrestleMania, like the tag team. Okay, I'm going for a nap, take over. Okay, I'm going for meditation, I've got you guys, I'm gonna send you guys all these light codes. And you're sending all these aspects of who you are, all this information all the time. So a lot of times people will say like, oh, this person's draining my energy. That person isn't draining your energy. You're under the governance of a belief system that you're not worthy of something better. So of course your energy is going to get drained. That energy is trying to indicate to you, it's trying to signal you or alert you that you're not in your power, which can be a whole other topic. But I'm just saying, like, everything that you feel is felt for a reason. Nothing is by chance. Nothing is by accident. Everything that you feel is offering you a new, it is offering you insight. And that insight isn't gonna be forced upon you. Like I told you, I was broke for many years. It wasn't forced upon me. I just wasn't listening. I wasn't wanting to listen. So the players of the game and the makers of the game were like, damn, this dude's stubborn. Fine. He'll just keep depleting his energy. He'll just keep being broke. Too bad for him. That's on him. Yeah? And to them, it's no different because they have 1,000 players. If you want to be the weakest one in the game, be the weakest one in the game. They don't care. They're not in a rush. Yeah? That's why when you play a video game, there's level 1, level 2, level 3, and all these things. And then there are better players, worse players. But at the end of the day, you have to hold yourself fully accountable for everything in your life. Otherwise, there's no way for you to become a maker of your game. Now, this is just one last point I want to share. The reason you're able to now bend your reality from that overview is because you're not a slave to that big cloud, to all those thoughts that millions and trillions of humans have been feeding into. You've moved beyond the clouds. You're in a plane and there's turbulence, right? And that turbulence is symbolic for other thoughts that people have had that are fearful, that are intrusive, that are sometimes disruptive, that tell you that you're not good enough, that tell you that you should feel rejected because this person doesn't love you, that tells you that you should be unlovable. You move through that turbulence, and now you go beyond the clouds, and all of a sudden everything is peace and everything is tranquil. And from that space, you can move everything you want. You can literally take your finger and apply some power there and decide, what does this mean? What am I going to do with this? What is this going to represent? Yeah? Do I want to stir something in for 2030? Do I want to bring a new manifestation to life? What do I want to do? And because everyone else is operating within that, they're going to make your manifestation come alive. Because source energy will continue to work through them to bring your creation to life. Source energy will continue to work through them to bring your creation to life. So I know this was a lot, but I thank you for joining me today. I thank you for the donations. I thank you for your continued support. And let this be your fast track to 5D. Let this be your fast track to your multidimensional self. For this week alone, just forget all of this healing stuff and all of this, I need to feel this and I need to feel that. Start activating your higher mind. What's going on? Has this been thought of before? Cool. What other thought should I select? All right. When you have to heal and purge and do all that stuff, it just means that you've adopted other belief systems and you've been a slave to all these thoughts. And you've overly identified with them and as them, and it hurts to have to go, I'm not this. It's like pulling a plug off your body. It hurts to have to pull this off. But this thing that you're pulling off isn't you. That's not you. What you are is a divine being of frequency. And where you come from is source. You are source. So all of this stuff of, he left me and I don't understand why, and I don't get why I can't find my purpose, and I don't know why I haven't milked any of my interviews yet, and I haven't landed this job yet. All of that is that your ego is overly identifying with these different beliefs that you're a slave to. And it hurts to have to go, ugh, and to come back to reality and to snap out of it. That's all that means. That's all that means. And humans do that. They self-destruct. You know, if you have a car behind you that's honking at you nonstop and they're like super aggressive, well, if the car in front of them gets out of their car and smacks them in the face, you can see how that person kind of deserved it. They asked for it. They were a slave to a thought in that moment that I'm not getting home fast enough, or hurry up, I'm trying to control you. And that master let it know, you're my slave. Here, boom, let me smack you. Don't provoke me again. So from the higher dimensional viewpoint, we can see how everything is, there's relevancy to everything. If you provoke someone and you get smacked, well, you asked for it. You know, that's how the guides see it. You were under the governance of a thought that was trying to get you to provoke people, and in return, you got smacked. That's just what it is. So from one perspective, it's not okay to smack anyone, but from another perspective, you can see how that person asked for it. All right, you guys, I love you so much, and I thank you for joining me, and I will attach some links below. Please subscribe if you haven't. There should be my little face that pops up here in a second. You can just click that and subscribe, and then thank you for your comments, thank you for your love, thank you for your light, and I'm sending you infinite blessings in return. Much love.